children. It also coincides with the Child Protection Week being marked in South Africa from tomorrow to the 9th of June. Well, during this time, our country will focus on its most fragile and most vulnerable citizens. The week, which is marked annually in SA to raise awareness on the rights of children, aims to mobilise all sectors of our society to care for and protect the nation's most fragile and vulnerable. But where are we exactly when it comes to the protection and progress of children's rights at this juncture? To chat some more on children's rights in the country is Mr. Buang Jones from the South African Human Rights Commission. Good afternoon, Buang. Always a pleasure to have you on the SABC News Desk.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for making time for us on the weekend at that. Buang, there was a great deal of expectation on South Africa to be a vociferous leader in the civil rights arena, in the children's rights area, post-apartheid. Is it an expectation, do you think we're adequately meeting at this point, Buang?
Well, we have made progress since the advent of the new constitutional dispensation in 1994.
Yes.
And given our highly acclaimed constitution, it is expected that a lot of people will want to see more being done. There is a plethora of legislation that has been passed in pursuit of ensuring that the rights of children in the country are protected. However, there are still disparities, there are still challenges. As we speak, there's a pending case before the Constitutional Court in which the Commission is seeking relief to protect the rights of undocumented learners. So there are a number of challenges. There has been legislation passed by Parliament, the Child Justice Act, Children's Act, and we've seen courts being established, courts which are dedicated to addressing disputes pertaining to children
who are undocumented in the country?
No, children broadly.
Broadly.
Yes.
All right, just on the point of undocumented minors in the country, our migrant children, all right? I want you to just be honest. Is South Africa at this point, are we frequently or regularly denying minors a right to access to education, the right to access to healthcare centres on the grounds of either red tape or bureaucracy or by misinterpretation? We're not understanding the laws and the international obligations regarding this kind of cases.
Yes, South Africa is enjoined by international covenants. The covenant on the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and there are a number of other international instruments which we are a signatory to and which bind South Africa to protect and ensure that in matters involving children, they are paramount. Their interests are of paramount importance. But we have seen in the last few years a concerted effort by government to address the distinctive needs of children. Government establishing a ministry to look into issues
dedicated
of children.
To women and children,
and social security. We've seen over the years government increasing social security grants, and children in the main are the beneficiaries of this. So much more can still be done, but we commend the efforts that have been done, but we still see children in South Africa who are trapped in poverty. I just came back now from Alexandra, and where children with their parents are left destitute as a result of the recent demolitions by the Red Ants.
Yes, Buang, we do have, and you've mentioned them, some of the most progressive laws in place, one of the best constitutions in the world that protect the rights of women and children. And we have a government who's adopted a zero-tolerance approach to violence against children. But this problem is still so pervasive. It just looks like the implementation and the impact is not there. Why is this? What are some of the barriers you're discovering on the ground?
I think the key thing is for society to accept that children's rights are human rights. They all have equal rights irrespective of their vulnerability.
Yes.
I mean, with the undocumented learners' vulnerability is amplified because they're undocumented.
Yes.
But children's vulnerability should always be something that we try and address. We've seen an upsurge in the number of cases pertaining to violence against children. And their vulnerability, it's something that we hope the new administration will prioritize. And I am hopeful that working together, we will be able to find solutions. Matters that are affecting children require a multi-sectoral approach. There's no one solution. So it requires a multi-sectoral approach to it. It also requires the Human Rights Commission to work with government and the NGOs and civil society groups in order to amplify and to also foster public understanding of children's rights.
Yes.
And I mean, we've established through our own advocacy interventions that there's still lack of knowledge about children's rights. Parents are not aware, children themselves are not aware, and it is important to use platforms such as this to advance and to promote the rights of children.
All right, we've got the murder-suicide case in Pretoria where a father hung himself and 3 children, making headlines this week. And these are not isolated cases. These cases, the nature is brutal, it's violent, it happens with such frequency. What do we have to do to get it right? Awareness is one thing, but we also need information to get out there as well, Buang.
Yes, we have to disseminate information, and I don't think we've fully utilized the local sphere of government. The local sphere of government is at the core phase of delivery. They interact with communities on a daily basis, and that is where we should focus our interventions, to capacitate councillors, to capacitate ward committees, to capacitate community development workers and NGOs and grassroots organizations, because we have to start changing behaviors that undermine the rights of children. We have to change attitudes that undermine the rights of children. We have to work with the police to address violence perpetrated against children. We have to address issues in education. There are so many issues in education. And children are mostly at the receiving end of some of the abuses from teachers. And we need to look at all these policies and the code of conduct at schools. Black hair is still being policed 25 years into our democracy. And so there are a number of challenges. And that is why I'm saying this requires a multi-sectoral approach. And we also hope that in policy formulation and in planning, government will always prioritize the children.
The more vulnerable children,
as
those in our poorer areas.
Yes.
And you've actually preempted my next question, because we all know and understand and accept that poverty does not necessarily equate to violence, Buang, all right? But it is true, and it's a fact, that this kind of crime is more prevalent in our poorer communities. And they're also more susceptible to violence for a whole lot of socioeconomic factors and histories. Now, many areas like this lack access to social services. They have high unemployment rates. Can you just talk to us about that link between poverty, social services, unemployment and abuse, and how do we make sure that government prioritizes these areas?
Socio-economic conditions exacerbate the vulnerability of children. South Africa, as we speak, we have one of the highest unemployment rates, and even social grants recipients, the number keeps on increasing. And we are also the most unequal society.
Yes.
So there are a number of challenges, and that is why we need a coordinated approach to addressing issues that impact on children's rights. We also want to see a more accountable, a more responsive, a more proactive government that prioritize the issues that afflict children throughout the country, children in rural areas, there are many challenges there.
Yes.
They have to go to schools. They have to endure unsanitary conditions in some of these schools.
Yes.
They have to walk distances,
Yes.
which renders them vulnerable to criminal elements. They have to endure a whole host of other socioeconomic infringements.
Yes.
And much more can still be done. And our duty is to hold government accountable, but to also contribute towards social transformation of our society.
Buang Jones, I'm afraid we are out of time. Mr. Jones, of course, is joining us from the South African Human Rights Commission. Thank you for sharing your invaluable insights with us right here on the SABC News Desk. Time to take a short break now. I'll be back with more news after this. Do stay with us.